In this video, we will talk about lighting in FLUIDRAY. Now, we already saw that we can create lighting using environments, but we can also use lights in a particular way, which is really typical of FLUIDRAY. Now, we don't have actual lights in FLUIDRAY, but we can simulate lights using environments and using emissive material. We already saw how we can use environments and HDRI, image-based lighting, and also how we can use the emissive material or the emissive channel in the materials. But we're gonna do a little bit of we're gonna go a little bit forward here. We're gonna try to do something a little bit more specific, more accurate with the lights. So I'm gonna start as usual by dragging and dropping an environment, and then to have a more accurate lighting system, I will show you how you can create lights and also a particular technique which is really popular. So first of all, we need a model to insert in our studio, in our lighting studio or photographic studio, whatever we want to represent. We can use this technique for photography and using models, 3D models, human models, or also we can use it for industrial design, product design, and so on. So just as we did it with the HDRI and image-based lighting. Now you can see I have different formats here available, but I'm gonna use Blender because Blender is open source and you can download it, install it without doing any trial or without any payment. So you can just go there and use it. So I wanna use Blender because when talking about lights in FLUIDRAY, you cannot really manage the position of those lights using just FLUIDRAY. You need at least one 3D modeling tool, 3D modeling software, and again, I'm gonna use Blender because it's open source and you can do it without paying anything. So I'm gonna show you how to do 3-point lighting, which is a particular technique, and it's really popular in TV shows, movies, TV series, photography, marketing, advertising, and whatever. So it's used basically anywhere. And I think that's the base of lighting in reality, but also in 3D world. It's a really good starting point if you don't know really anything about how to light up a scene. So it's pretty simple to understand and really useful to create that nice three-dimensional look of your scene. Now I'm going to go also to Polyhaven website. Here you can find HDRIs for your environments, you can find textures for your materials. So we already talked about environments, we already talked about materials. Now we're gonna go to models. Now in models you will find both the 3D geometry, the 3D object, and also the textures. So if we want to do also some like industrial design or product design, rendering we can use, and we already use the drill, by the way, so we already know the mechanism. So I'm gonna just select a furniture here, some piece of furniture, and perhaps a sofa, and also want to get a lamp, so we can create a lantern here or a lamp. So I'm gonna get this old school, old looking lamp. So I'm gonna download, and you can download it FBX or Blender file. If you want to use Blender, you can decide to use both. I'm gonna do a couple of examples with both types of files. So I will download this into a specific folder which I called Polyhaven, and I'm gonna also download the sofa, and I'm gonna create like a small scene where I will place a couple of humans, couple of furniture and product design, so we can test this type of lighting with both. So we have now the subjects, and let's do a little bit of theory before we jump into action. So basically the 3-point lighting you can see here was a technique developed in black and white movies in order to detach the subject from the background, or let's say the foreground from the background. And this type of technique is based on tree lighting basically. So you can see the camera there and the 3 lights. So first of all, you have a key light, which is gonna be the most important and the most intense, and you can see also examples of studios that they use all the three lights together. Well, sometimes you can just use the one single light, like just the key light if you want. You can see in this picture here, you have a really strong key light. Now the other side is gonna have like this really black shadows, and also I don't see a really strong background light. So you have a combination in 3-point line system of key light, fill light, which is gonna compensate the shadows, gonna fill the shadows with light. You can see here an example also of the fill light a little bit, and also we have a backlight that's coming from behind. So with a combination of these three, you will have a nice effect. So key light, fill light usually are on the front, backlight usually come from the back and detaches the subject from the background with that like silhouette or rim, or you can see there here it's pretty visible. It's in red color. You can see the effect of that backlight. So it's gonna give that three-dimensional look to your subject. It's gonna make it look really realistic and more accurate and complex than just the simple one single light. So when we find environments in FLUIDRAY, we are actually finding studio environments that represent this type of lighting, this type of studio lighting. So we're going to recreate that now, not using just an environment, but also this also other lights. Now I'm gonna extract the objects that I have downloaded here. You can see I have zip folder. I need to extract those in order to access the objects and the textures that are inside. So you can see there, and we have different resolution. I'm gonna go for the smallest, and that's gonna be the one that I'm going to bring in. So first of all, I just want to make a quick example with the lights that are already have inside the environment here. You can see this environment is a studio lighting actually. So we have probably here already some sort of 3-point lighting, and also in these other environments you can see there are also this studio with this lighting around. So probably there is already some 3-point lighting or something similar. So we're gonna try then to rebuild that using lights in with a scene made with Blender, and then we're gonna import it into FLUIDRAY. So first of all, just to make things as simple as possible, the thing that we can do is just bring in the object as we already know how to do. So we will import, select the file that will be compatible with that with the FLUIDRAY, and there you go. Now we have some issues here with the textures probably. So if I select that, I can see the base color is there, I can see the texture is there, but this looks too glossy. So probably there are other textures. So I'm gonna first look for the normal, which is gonna add more details as we already know. So I will definitely pick the normal to add details to my 3D object, and I can already see more details. And then to get rid of that specular effect, I can see if there is a specular map here. Let's try with this one, and there you go. So I've solved that plastic look. Now it looks a little bit more realistic. So one thing I can do is this one here. So I can just drop in a character or an object as we did also in the previous video, and this is going to be like the simplest thing, but it's not as accurate as the lighting that we're gonna set up now in using Blender and using again FLUIDRAY. Now here I can rotate, and you can see I'm affecting the position of the lights, but I cannot manage each single light. I cannot change the color